So of the hundreds, if not thousands of documentaries out, there are plenty that stand above as great filmmaking. And I love documentaries. I love sitting and watching documentaries. They're really entertaining for me, and I find them fascinating. And I can watch a documentary about literally anything in the world and be entertained. One documentary just recently came out that I think honestly has been the biggest roller coaster documentary that I've ever seen in my entire life. And that is the documentary called The Curious Case of Natalia Grace. Natalia Speaks. Strap in, because this one has been a hell of a time. And also, of course, spoilers. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Strap in. This is going to be a wild one. Let's have some fun. The documentary's name is The Curious Case of Natalia Grace. This is the second season, which is Natalia Speaks. There was apparently a first season, and I never heard about this documentary when the first season came out. I had no idea it existed, so this has kind of been the first time that this has come to light for me. Natalia Grace was an adopted, disabled child who came to the United States via Ukraine. And there was a lot of controversy surrounding Natalia because she was adopted by a family by the name of the Barnetts. Now, this documentary I think is fantastic in the filmmaking, first of all. I think the filmmaking is fantastic. It was beautiful. It was really well shot, really well edited. I really liked the way they approached everything and really did a great job of being thematic and like the theater of it all. And so after that awesome title sequence, we get to know the Barnetts a bit. We get to meet Michael, and we get to meet Christine, and then we get to meet the boys, right? And they're a loving, amazing little family. We get the idea here that, obviously they come for money. They have money. They have a lot of money. It's basically all we found out. With the Ferraris and the driveway and the hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank account, we get it, okay? You're rich, you're wealthy. Now, what I thought was kind of curious is Michael, from the very onset, struck me as a little bit suspicious. And I felt like he was way too over the top. He was just almost, everything was like a theater.
Abused. We were all abused.
He was that theater kid, you know what I mean? That was like the understudy for the man standing in the door. He played the shit out of that character. Now is his big break. Like he gets that. Now he's got the limelight on him. Now it's the opportunity to tell his life story. And everything seems so not genuine from him. I don't know if anybody else got that vibe from him. We carry on and find out more about the Barnett family, and we find out some different allegations that come from the Barnett family, apparently, that Natalia is a sociopath and she's crazy and, doing things where she's holding knives or threatening the other children and doing stuff that just is crazy, weird. Some other things that were interesting about this whole thing is that they were saying that the adoption was like a closed adoption. They had no idea about Natalia. They couldn't talk to the other family. They couldn't get any information about it. So we find that out from Michael. Because Michael is the only person that's talking, because obviously Christine isn't commenting. Christine's not involved in this documentary at all whatsoever. She's not commenting on anything. She's not speaking her side of the story. So we get only Michael's side of the story. So we come to find out, obviously, we come to the conclusion, and of course the filmmaking, again, like I said, is brilliant. And it's making Natalia seem like, this big entire giant monster, and like, she's ruining the family. She's this thing, and this is absolutely horrible. Terrible. Okay? Well, long story being short, Natalia is eventually committed to an insane asylum after a supposed incident with the mom, Christine, where Natalia was attempting to try to kill her and throw her into an electric fence at a farm. To that is that the whole hospital visit, the whole mental hospital visit, doesn't go to plan for the Barnetts. They thought they could offload her and ship her off, and then she was just going to stay there. Well, she had other plans. She was getting into trouble at the mental hospital, so much so that the people in the mental hospital said, look, you need to come pick up Natalia. Okay? We're done with her. We are finished washing our hands entirely of Natalia. What are we going to do with Natalia now? Basically is what the Barnetts come to. And they realize, well, what's the next best thing? Well, let's find a place to where she can live on her own. To preface all this by saying, too, that the Barnetts went through the entire process of re-aging her. When she came from Ukraine, her birth certificate from Ukraine stated that she was born in September of 2003. This would put her at the ripe old age of about 7 or 8 during the time that all of this stuff was going on. The Barnetts were not convinced. We're saying that there were some signs and things that were pointed to the fact that she is not, in fact, a child. Such things being that she had pubic hair, she had a period, and that she was hiding it, and like a few other crazy things. The Barnetts legally have her age changed. to 22, which is crazy for a whole bunch of different reasons. That made the process of finding a place for her to live a whole lot easier, because now the Barnetts could then validate the fact that, hey, we're going to find you a place to live because you're an adult. So they find a place for her to live, an apartment. And what happens there is that apparently Natalia just makes the whole apartment complex's life a living hell. Is going to people and admitting, hey, I've drawn a knife on my parents, and I've done this, that, and that. And she was like breaking into people's houses, sneaking into people's houses, and playing with the kids of the neighborhood inappropriately. And her parents also don't ever come to visit her. She is a disabled person who has an entirely tough time doing anything for herself because of her disabilities. So her parents don't hardly ever come to visit her, and when they do, they're like wiping text messages and deleting stuff off of phones and doing all of this crazy stuff. Right, well, this brings a lot of attention to Natalia from all of the other tenants. All of the tenants are convinced too that she is an adult, she is not a child, whatever the case, because of all the crazy things that she's saying and doing. So eventually Natalia does not get her lease renewed, because after all of the complaints and all of the stuff that's going on in the entire complex, she eventually does not get that renewed. The Barnetts then have to kind of pivot again, and they have to try to see what they can do to get rid of her again. So the next thing that they do is they find this place, another apartment complex from like an hour away, in a bad part of town. Jacob, the other son, one of the other children, at this time is going to Canada because he's a genius. He's like a savant. He is absolutely a certified genius and is going to college and getting his master's degree at like Dean or something. So they're going to Canada at this point. They leave Natalia in the city by herself, up like 90 stairs. A top floor apartment with tons of stairs and pretty much making her life a living hell. Come to find out, Natalia's power is getting cut off all the time. They're deleting all of her phone records and all of this stuff, to making it where it's nearly impossible for her to communicate or have a normal existence. Child services case is then opened against Barnett's, and the whole thing and allegations are brought up for abuse and all of the subsequent fun that is entitled with that. During the actual filming, during the documentary, we see all of the process of Michael's trial. I'm not going to go into that because, again, this was kind of a boring part during the documentary, in my personal opinion, but it was kind of slow. Michael's acquitted of the charges. He's not found guilty, but that's not the end of the story. Now we kind of break into season 2, where it is the stuff that has been newly released. So most of the season is Natalia trying her best, her damnedest, to meet with Michael face-to-face, one-on-one. The first initial meeting between the two doesn't go very well at all, because Michael is breaking down, is causing a gigantic scene, having to make everything about him, as he usually does, and starts cussing, apparently. Says hell or something. And Natalia's new father, or guardian, rather, starts making a scene because he is a bishop. So he starts saying, hey, we're not going to do this in this place. We're not going to cuss. Don't do this around my daughter, and so on and so forth. And then Michael breaks down and has a hissy fit, and the whole thing just explodes. Of that documentary is just the basically build up and storytelling of how are we going to get these two to meet. Natalia needs closure. Michael wants closure. How are these two going to come together? Well, we finally get the meet between these two. Again, Michael is controlling the narrative and doing what he does best.
Down and degraded and controlled and threatened. You ever see the movie Monsters, Inc.?
Yes.
You know how the same monster goes through bunches of doors, and
Yeah.
all these kids around the world have the same monster, but they don't know it? We have the same monster.
What is impressive to me, Michael has the audacity to try to sit here and equate the entire lived experience of all of this trauma and all of this abuse that Natalia suffered, according to him.
Ow.
Yeah, did you hit your hand a little hard there, buddy? And he's equating it to a child's movie in Monsters, Inc. Yeah, so we have the same monster, and is now trying to find some level ground with Natalia, trying to find some level bit of, oh, you suffered, but I suffered too. Don't forget me. I also suffered. And then we get this breakdown scene where Natalia finally just decides, well, I'm tired of dealing with this man's shit, and says, you know what? I forgive you, Michael, and prays over him. And Michael's like, I'm so sorry for everything that happened, and blah, blah, blah. Never actually says what I had to do with it. but says so sorry. What happened. So at least we get some kind of nice finish to this whole thing. And Michael drives off in the sunset in his little sports car, and he's all happy and great. And we think everything's solved and everything's resolved. No. So the rest of the documentary shows the actual adoption of Natalia by the man. So we think everything's great. Everything's good. We get all of that, and the new page is turned, and, it's all beautiful rainbows and sunshine. Not.
Right with Natalia. This girl is tweaking. I feel like she's an enemy in the house. We're done. Yeah. We're done with her.
Holy shit. What a twist. What an absolute roller coaster ride we've been on this entire documentary. And that is how it ends. That's how season 2 ends. Generally speaking, this is a chef's kiss documentary. I think this was really great. It had me engaged from start to finish. It got a little tedious and boring there during some of the parts, like where Michael and Natalia were talking, and like some of that season 2 kind of got a little boring, but man, season 1 had you going from start to finish. An awesome thing. So if you haven't seen this season 1, go watch season 1 and then watch season 2, obviously. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one.